Hey everybody, it's the Trout, and welcome to another episode of the Trout Show. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I visit with an up-and-coming, very talented young lady from California. Her name is Natalie Dean. She hails from the San Francisco area. She started music very young and convinced her mom to take her to Nashville to cut her first demo when she was only 15 years old. But that wasn't enough for Natalie. Natalie kept thinking, I got to get into music. I need to be a songwriter. So she finished in high school. Then she said, I think what I'm going to do is try to go someplace that I want to take a chance at. And that is the Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts. Now, if you've never heard of LIPA, it's obviously located in Liverpool, England. Natalie said, I'm going to try to get into this school. Now, you might wonder, why would she go all the way there? Well, it's very simple. It was started by a guy by the name of Paul McCartney. So it has a great music production program and music songwriting, a lot of stuff for performing arts. She got accepted, and after 3 years, she just graduated. And now she's on her way to becoming, I think, a wonderfully talented music star. She talks about living in England versus the time that she's, not living in America anymore. She's coming back to the States real soon. But she also talks about how she wants to do stuff with music therapy and helping people, because she's had some people in her life that she's lost, that she wants to help other people and not go down the same path and be happy. Oh, by the way, that tune you heard at the very beginning was a song she wrote called Live Again. So sit back, enjoy this wonderful episode with an upcoming artist that I think is going to be very well known, Natalie Dean. She's next on The Trout Show. You're from where in the States?
I am from outside of San Francisco, so East Bay area.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
sort of.
And so you're going along. I read your bio. I always do a little bit of research, obviously, on everybody. And you're going along. When was it you decided that you wanted to be a musician?
Oh my gosh. Well, I remember, if we're starting really early, I remember being completely fascinated by the radio when I was a little kid,
Okay.
and songwriting in general. I thought that the singers were speaking to me or telling me stories because they would
Wait,
always
wait. See, from the 60s. So you said that we were on
yeah.
drugs when we were
Yeah. Well, it didn't
You
matter.
weren't on drugs. You were.
I don't know. I don't think I fully understood all the context, obviously.
Right.
But like my favorite artist growing up was Billy Joel. He still is one of my favorites. So I don't know. I just loved listening to the stories and thinking, oh yeah, like this is about my life, or trying to relate a love song to, I don't know, a crush I had on this playground. It just
Right.
stupid
Yeah.
things like that. So I remember very early on wanting to uh, be on the radio. That was like a big dream. So
That's when people still listen to radio for music.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
and
yeah.
I love the radio. I mean, right now it's all consumed with kind of, I think, fast fashion songs,
Yeah.
which you know, but that's how I kind of got into wanting to pursue songwriting.
Right.
And I've always loved singing. I was a really shy kid. I still am pretty much an introvert, I would say. Um, but I love telling stories in that way. So I started singing, I think I was 10 with a vocal
Okay.
coach.
Were you
And
playing an instrument? Did you learn to play piano or anything?
originally it was just singing. And then I
Okay.
took up piano, I think I was 14.
Okay.
Um, I never got crazy good at it because I was terrible at practicing. So I really just stuck with the songwriting thing, and I'm like,
Everybody
ah,
sucks at that, yeah, that
yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when you play
So
guitar, people, years ago, I used to teach a little bit. I don't have the patience for it.
yeah.
And the kids would come over and they would see my guitars and they go, I want to play like you. They equated the guitar to playing.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you want to play? And they'd tell me, and I'd go start learning how to play it. And they go, how do you do that? I said, because I've been playing for decades.
Yeah. You
And
can't
it's
just
called
do it.
practice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hard part. So
So you
um
aren't too good at it, but you're good at writing songs.
I love writing songs. I will practice that all day. So I guess that's where I realized, okay, I need to record. And um so at 15, I convinced my mom to go to Nashville and do a few demos. That was like my big dream. I'm like, Mom, we got to do this. So
At
we went
15, I love
at
that.
15 and I took it very seriously. Um, I was writing all these songs I thought were amazing. They were terrible. But we did the demos, and I just kind of fell in love with the whole process of it because obviously, you get into the studio and the session musicians are crazy amazing. They just can
Yes, they
provide
are.
it.
Yeah.
We had, I think, how many songs? 4 songs, 5 songs done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like just like they were just boom, 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 boom. Whoa. It felt so magical. I can't
Yeah.
even explain it. And just that people were actually playing to
Your
support something
song.
I wrote. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
So that kind of got the bug in me for wanting to record my own songs, work on songwriting, put out music. Um,
So was that when did you get your first DAW?
I would say, well, of course I started on GarageBand, which,
Oh yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
it
Yeah.
gets the little baby job done. But
Yeah.
um I was 16, I think, and I got Logic. Um I do prefer Logic. I have tried Pro Tools.
Excuse me. Yes.
I don't know about you. I hate it. It's so fussy. So, yeah, I just kind of dabbled around with that. I took some audio engineering classes in high school at the community college. After school, I would go and
Yeah.
take classes.
So you started doing that, and tell me what you were doing though. You're writing songs. Were you layering? Were you dubbing stuff in, putting symphony orchestras in, and all that stuff with plugins, or how were you doing it?
In the beginning, I was really just making demos in order to take to studios
Okay.
and have other producers
Right.
produce. So I was just trying to get good at conveying an idea.
So it sounded pretty good when you sent it over to him instead of using your
Yeah,
phone and a guitar.
yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
I
Gotcha. Okay.
wanted like I wanted to have my bones down and then, um lay it out that way. So I got, I would say, okay at that. Um I listen back, of course, now, and everything's way too echoed and there's so much reverb and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Um yeah, sounds like I'm in a cave. But
Yeah.
it was it was good to, practice. And so I would say all through high school I was recording with various different producers, and we went back to Nashville a few times. But yeah, we were just kind of making demos. I was working with different people in different studios. A few of those
Did
projects
people come in at your house and add anything, or you just sent tracks to people and they'd add something, or you just how did that happen?
I would either go somewhere local. So I worked with a studio in my area
Okay.
for about a year, and we were working on an album. That fell through for um weird reasons.
Mhm.
So it just it got a bit uncomfortable in the environment, and I couldn't work with those people anymore.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of why I really decided that I needed to know how to get good at producing myself, because I have had multiple situations where studio environments are not comfortable. And I'm either not taken very seriously or boundaries are crossed. So
I figured that was one of them. Yeah.
yeah. So most of my work that I did in high school never came out, or I never got access to the final masters
Hmm.
because relationships broke down. Um
And you know
so
what? The bad thing about that is
yeah,
in the business you have to learn all that stuff the hard way.
yeah, yeah.
And working with I'm not working with I've interviewed them four artists that are under the age of 16. All
Mhm.
of them are going to be big star, not necessarily stars, but very good. They're excellent musicians,
Mhm.
and their parents don't know anything about the music business.
Yeah.
And I told them all the same thing. If you need me to call somebody or need something, let me know. I
Yeah.
can at least get you the right people. So so you got through doing all the demos,
Yeah.
and then did you go to college or
Yeah.
university there in California first before you decided I think I'll move to England?
No, so actually my whole degree has been here in Liverpool.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I
Oh, that's where
moved.
you are. You're in Liverpool now.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
all
I'm
right.
here right
I
now.
mean, when I talk to people over there, I never know where they are. I have to ask them. Okay,
Yeah.
just a second. Okay.
Yeah. Um, so this is the last actually 2 weeks of my degree, and
And
then
how long have you been there?
button up 3 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So the degrees over here are only 3 years for a bachelor. So that was kind of appealing, I must say, because I'm not a huge fan of school in
Yeah, I
general. I
understand that.
love, yeah, it's just I like
If you could
being,
spend all your time doing what you like, that would be one thing.
yeah,
Yeah, but
exactly.
what's this other stuff? I don't, yeah, I got it. So it's the same way everywhere you go in the world. It's the same way.
Yeah.
All right, so by the time you were in high school,
Mhm.
how many years was before you and you're going to tell me in a second how you got accepted to go over there. How many years was it? Did you do anything
Before,
after high school, or did you go right, send the stuff to Liverpool, and Sir Paul goes, oh, it's right. I want you to, anyway. How'd that happen?
so basically, I was a COVID 2020 graduate for high school.
Ah,
So I this is kind of confusing. Basically, junior year of high school, I left and I joined a independent high school system where you are one-on-one once a week with a teacher, and then you can go take junior college classes that pertain
okay.
to your interests. So I did that, got my high school diploma that way whilst taking um, music business classes at the JC,
Mm-hmm.
graduated 2020, and then I couldn't get a visa to come over here.
Mm.
So I took
Why
a
wouldn't
year
they
off.
give you a visa?
I don't know. I think they were just having a hard time dealing with COVID. There were
Was
too
it,
many
it was still COVID or right after
with
COVID?
COVID.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
And
why.
England,
Yeah.
I think, England was very strict for a
Yeah, they
long
were
time.
very strict. Yeah.
Yeah. So they deferred, all of my acceptances were deferred. And so, and that year I only applied to schools in London, actually. So I wasn't even looking at Liverpool.
And why did you decide to go over there?
I don't know.
You
You
just
know
said, I
what?
think I'll go to England. I think go to the UK. I mean, I understand you
Yeah.
can't explain these things, but you just said, well, I'll give it a shot and see if I get out of the, yeah, I understand. Okay.
Yeah. I think I have grown up my whole life in a very lovely area, but it's very sheltered. It's a bit of a bubble. I wanted to do something completely out of my comfort
Mm,
zone, um, immerse myself in a culture that was similar enough but different that I could
mm-hmm.
grow. Traveling is very important to me, so of
Hmm.
course it's appealing to be so close to Europe.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, honestly, I just wanted a bit of a fresh start. My my stepdad actually passed away
Mm,
2021
sorry.
in, thank you, July before I moved here. So I moved here in August. Um, and he passed away in July. And that was kind of like, yep, I need to get
You
away.
need some space. Yeah.
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 So I came here. I actually applied to LIPA very much out of the blue. I didn't know much about the school. All I knew is Sir Paul McCartney had his name on it. I'm like, all right,
Well, if
that's
it's
good
got
enough
his name
for
on it, I guess it's
me.
okay.
Yeah. So I applied and I got in. I'm like, oh my gosh. I actually got my acceptance on the way to a spring break trip in Vegas. And I was like,
Did you have to send them stuff, music? Did you
yes,
have to
yes.
send them?
So
Okay, I figured you probably would.
yes, it was luckily I liked this. It was very portfolio based. And we had like a music theory audition and then a singing audition. And I sent in demos of my production skills,
Hmm.
um, because my degree is songwriting and music production. So um that was kind of the interview process for that. And then typically they do in-person auditions. Mine was over Zoom. And yeah,
That
I
had to
mean,
be that had to be nerve-wracking.
oh my gosh, you should have seen me. I was up
So
at
what
3
I just
in the
had, I'm
morning.
curious. So you just did you play some background music? How did you do this? You didn't just sing
I
a cappella, or did you?
well, I had to play scales. He was testing me on intervals, and of course I'm like trying to listen and the network's cutting out. I'm trying to think. And then I had to play a few songs on my keyboard, um, sing a few, uh, scales. I don't know. And then I just talked about what I hoped I could add to the
Right.
program.
Yeah.
Um, and my big, I guess, pitch was, listen, 2% of producers are women. That's not okay.
And I agree.
So, yeah, that was kind of the thing. I thought I totally flunked it. It went pretty well, I think. So, yeah.
But what I say earlier, people take a chance. You took a
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah.
And to think about this, and I had never heard of the school before our aforementioned friend had said, you need to talk to somebody that graduated from the school. And I go, what are you talking about? Sir Paul McCartney. And I go, what are you talking about? And he shows up if you're the top magna cum laude. And I go, whoa, stop. He shows. Well, then, before we talked, I had never studied it. We spoke about it back and forth because she's talked to me, other people that have gone to the school. And I actually read about it. I had no idea the history behind it.
Mm,
That he was involved in 96. That's when it really got turned over. And it was I guess it originally was a school because it looked like an old building.
yeah.
Somebody got 20 million or 20 million pounds. I don't know what it was. It kind of got it going. And he brought in all sorts of people to help, which of course doesn't hurt.
Mm.
And it looks like to me it's a creative arts. I guess you got music, acting, you got dance,
We
and there's a
have
lot of different things.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, everything that it takes to put on a show. So sound techs, lighting,
oh
costume
wow,
designers.
yeah,
Basically, it facilitates being able to network within LIPA and build your team whilst in uni. And if you are all on the same, path,
yeah,
take that
yeah,
group of people with you. Um, so for that aspect, especially for performers, I'm not much of a performer, to be honest, but for the people who did the performance degree, they just put on a big senior end of the year showcase. Each of them had to kind of put on their show.
yeah,
Um, and seeing how many different teams were involved and, all the different students that actually go to LIPA that we don't always see, it's very
yeah.
it's very cool. It kind of feels like a circus, but in a really good way. So
Well, it's
yeah.
creative arts.
Yeah.
So I live 10 minutes from one of the biggest liberal arts schools in America, the University of North Texas.
Yeah.
A lot of famous people have gone there, and a
Mm,
lot of great musicians have gone there. And so I understand.
yeah.
You're around people, and even being on a college campus in America, people show up and you're like, is that your pajamas that you're working?
Yeah.
And what I think is really cool about you is the fact is what you said earlier just now was very few women are involved in production.
Mm, yeah.
And I've interviewed or tried to interview more women that are involved in the music business, especially if they play an instrument.
Yeah.
And I really like the ones that are bass players because it
Mm,
just kind of it's so out of kilter that you're not standing there with a big dude going, bass player. And
yeah.
then my favorite one is I interviewed last year, I think it was last summer, a bass player out of a Swedish metal band, a blonde hair, blue-eyed young lady.
Yeah.
And I said, "How did you start?" And she just said, "Well, they needed a bass player, so I borrowed a bass and started learning how to play."
Awesome. Awesome.
So, and I think what you're saying, and I can hear what you want, and I ask you this in a second, but your abilities to do what you want to do broaden your scope in the music industry, so to speak. And that
Absolutely.
means you can produce. I mean, down the road, probably you can produce some people, but I mean, and you know the skill set of what it takes to record. You're
Yeah.
like you're like a famous, you know, might be a famous, George Martin type or Glenn Johns, those guys that are just famously known for their being producers. And
Yeah.
what's the guy over in America that has the big beard and everybody goes, "Oh my God, I got him produced." I can see him anyway. So what? I just he's produced a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, what is it you want to do? I mean, you have this plethora of things that here's your kaleidoscope of things that Natalie can do. What's your favorite
Yeah.
thing to do?
My favorite thing, okay, I have kind of three sort of paths that I'm trying to navigate right now.
Okay.
The most important thing to me, this is why I'm with Nadine and the Creative Well, it's music has always been my therapy, my voice, my
Mhm.
way to deal with anything and connect with people. I I've always had a hard time, I think, expressing myself. But I think music is the most universal language and form of love.
Yep.
So connection is what's most important to me. So I've kind of been working on this idea. It's very new. But my dream would be to help advance music therapy,
Mhm.
using VR technology and allow,
Hmm.
so, kids in long-term care or chemo, getting them out of their room and maybe having them attend the Taylor Swift concert via this
VR.
technology that we have. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, or, working very close to my heart is dementia. And that,
Mm.
so my grandma had dementia and
Mm.
we were the best of friends. And I would visit her in the care home every day after high school. And I would go around to the other people in there as well who I made friends with. And the one thing that always woke them up was their favorite music.
Mm.
And Gigi, I called her. At one point, she didn't recognize me and she yelled at me for
Mm.
the first time in my life.
Mm.
And I'm like, Gigi, what are you doing? And I started singing, it was Christmas time. I started singing White Christmas, which was her favorite. And she lit up, knew every single word, started dancing. It just, music and memory is so fascinating to me. I don't have the qualifications to be a doctor, and I don't have the will
You
to
don't like
go.
going to school? No.
I don't like school, but I love connecting with people, and I
Yeah.
know music is medicine.
Yes.
So if I could work in, you know, using the technology we have, using the resources, and finding a more immersive way to connect music in the mind, or, help with therapy, that's what I really am trying to pursue after university. Um, so that's one thing. And then beyond that, I would really love to build a team of all female producers, engineers, session musicians, and create a really safe place for artists to record or,
Mm.
mentor younger girls
Yeah.
to get into tech-based fields.
Right.
Um, because I remember I really didn't have many people to look to in terms of, I mean, there are a few like Linda Perry, okay, look
Yeah.
to her, but it's much harder. You can't just Google female producers in the Bay
No.
Area. Nothing comes
No.
up.
No.
So, I think doing mentorship, talking with, schools, working with a group of, musicians that can help create that safe environment, I think would be a really great thing I would love to do. And then finally, just I would love to sync license my songs,
Oh.
write for other people.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that if I could hear my song be sung by someone else and they rock it better than I could,
Yeah.
oh, my day would be made.
You know,
So
people that don't write music don't understand why that would affect you.
yeah.
You know, and it's like when they take a cover that everybody's heard and they make it better, so to, or change it, and they may not know,
Yeah.
and you're like, why aren't they irritated about it? No, it's because they've done something. We watch American Idol every year, and of course, Katy Perry, all the musicians are on there, and if they want to do one of their songs, they're just sitting there waiting. You can just see what are they going to do to the song that I didn't think of. You know that's in their mind.
Yes.
And what then, and then they do it, and they're like, well, I never thought of that.
Yes. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just like, it's that thing of connecting with someone and having a piece of you bloom into something else, with the help of someone else's creativity. I don't know. I find that amazing. So I would love to do that.
Well, and you already understand what a producer does. So many people don't.
Mm.
They don't understand what's a producer. What do they do?
Yeah.
A couple years ago, I interviewed a band out of Utah. It was all female band, and they said, "We want you to produce us." And I'll never forget this. The drummer goes, "Well, I don't want him to tell me what to do." And I said, "That's not the job of a producer. I'm not a drummer. I'm just
Yeah.
supposed to give things to make you sound better or get better or whatever that is, and I'm not and not change you.
Mm-hmm.
Take
Yeah.
your slice of what you want to do and make it better."
Yeah.
You already understand that, and you are 100% right that more women should be involved. There is a famous, she's very well known, like Marciela. I follow her. She's a engineer, a woman
Mm-hmm.
engineer, and you don't see that very often.
Mm-mm.
I don't know why. It's not like, I mean, it's kind of like when you fly now or look at people that fly planes professionally, there's more and more women.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're gonna, oh, I got to really steer hard. It's all computerized. So it's like, it's not any different. And I think if you have an ear for that, um, and can understand it, and I like the idea of what you said, a safe place.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. People don't understand that, and people take advantage of people, and it's kind of like acting, I can make you a star, baby.
Yeah. And you know what? It's the most, in my opinion, vulnerable environment to be in,
Sure it
because
is.
especially, if you're singing about something really close and personal,
Yeah,
you're opening your diary, you're
yeah,
spilling your guts,
yep.
whatever it is. So just to be supported for solely that and what you are saying, I think is all I would want to do for someone else. Um, and I've had that feedback working with different students at LIPA, producing them. They're like, oh my gosh, like I've never felt loved in a studio. I'm like, that is terrible, because
But
that's what
I
music.
don't understand that. And I know I understand why.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand. It's, oh man, it's hard to find people.
Yeah.
You can find a studio and pay them to record you, but finding people that understand you, I've been blessed to know some of them, and I just finished working on a song. Guy just released it, helped produce the horns on it, and he's out of Nashville. He's a country artist,
Yeah.
and will you do the horn? I'm going, what? You're in Nashville. He goes, no, no, no. I want you. I said, okay, I'll do it. I'm not even going to bore you with how it all came about. And listening to that, my name's not in anything. It wasn't he's posting. He said, my name mentioned it. But I just would hope that becomes a big hit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because I kept telling him, this is a crossover song for you. It's kind of a blues rock country song, and he knows what he's doing. And I just thought that's the part that I like.
Hmm.
And I've always been a connector my whole life. I connect people. That's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what you're wanting to do, and I could figure that earlier in our conversation, this is a lady that doesn't care about, especially when you said, I don't like performing, so to speak. I don't want to stand in front of the Royal Albert Hall and have 15,000, whatever the holds, 10,000, whatever it is, and have them go, oh, look, it's Natalie. You would rather have somebody walk up on stage and they're singing one of your songs.
Yeah. And then I could gush and applaud. That's all I want to do. Like I just want to witness it. Really. I want to create something and witness its effects. So yeah, I have never been really desiring the center of attention. I think
Right.
I tried to kind of manifest that on
Oh yeah,
Instagram
you
for
have to.
years.
Yeah.
And it's so, to me, from my, who I am, it's so soul sucking and artificial to me. Um,
It's
yeah.
true. It is.
Yeah. So honestly, I think every business is a people business, but especially for music,
Yeah.
you just gotta be real, and it shows in your music if you are or not. So
Well, and the other thing you mentioned was sync licensing.
yeah.
Because if you're watching a Toyota commercial and they're playing your song, nobody knows it's your song. How many times I can tell you, I do this a lot. We're watching a commercial, I don't know as much as it, and I go, who is that tuned by? Because they always find something you never, and I Shazam it and go, oh, who is that?
Yeah.
And you're like listening to it, and I saw a thing the other day, it was on Instagram, I think, and I don't know who the guy was. Some big band was playing, and this kid was out in the audience. I say kid, he's probably in his 20s. And he
Yeah.
turned to the camera and goes, they're playing my song. I wrote that song.
Just awesome.
Nobody knew.
Yeah.
And then I
That's
interviewed another guy. He does commercials. And he said to me, I was on a plane one time and they were playing a commercial. I go, oh, yeah, I remember that. I did the music on that.
I just think that's the coolest thing ever. It's
And
like
there's
you're
no
like,
adulation. You just get a check.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So,
And that's okay too. When you finish up in your very short time here,
yeah,
are you staying in the UK?
I don't think so. I think, well, selfishly, I miss the sun. I, I,
Well,
I,
San
I,
Francisco's not known to be that warm either, so you know.
no, but we've got a little bit of
Yeah.
a leg up on this one.
Yes, you
So
do. Yeah.
I just miss I miss the energy of California, I think.
Well, that's
And I
very
think,
slow in the UK.
yeah, it
They're
is
not in a
very,
hurry.
and I thought I would like that, but I find myself kind of running on the street. And I'm like, why isn't everyone so stressed out right now? We got places to go. I feel
I
like
have
I'm
no
turning
place to
my
go.
mother.
I'm not in a hurry.
Not gonna go anywhere. Yeah, so I'm gonna go home, I think, for a bit. I need to go see my mom. She's been on her own for a bit. So I'm gonna go check in on her and hopefully get something going. I'm so close to Silicon Valley. I'm hoping to
Yeah.
do something with my ideas in that area. But yeah, I mean, I'm just really open to anything. I just want to try everything and see
Until you find something you
see
like.
yeah, see where I feel passionate about it. You know this. You can't do music unless you are fully passionate about it.
True. True.
So whatever area of those ideas I feel the most driven towards, not for necessarily the money in the beginning, I think, but really for what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, that's the only thing I think that will fulfill me. So yeah, that's the plan for now.
Well, and I always quote John Lennon, life is what
Yeah.
happens to you when you're making plans.
Yep.
That's exactly what happens, and you never know. And I think part of it is you have to be open to accepting weird stuff,
Yeah.
things that
Yeah.
will happen to you, and not getting out, and you have to get out of your comfort zone. And you
Yeah.
you said that earlier when somebody said, I forgot what you were telling me that we were talking about our friend. How'd you meet
Yeah.
her? Well, let's
Yeah.
just go, okay,
Yeah.
and then okay, and then you never know. It's all about. I have a acquaintance of mine in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. He says the circle. Excuse me, I have to get my accent right. The circle always gets bigger when he's talking about people. When you add somebody else to your circle, you get bigger. Circle
Absolutely.
get bigger,
Circle
and
gets it.
and it's true.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think what do we say? It takes a village.
Yeah.
You find your family. Friends are the family you choose. That's what my mom always says. So I think if I can find a family in this very saturated, selfish sometimes industry, I think, sorry to be so blunt, but I think a lot of it is very artificial. But music is really not. It shouldn't be.
No,
So,
and I think what's happening, and I just saw this the other day on YouTube, some of the people I follow, we're talking how the industry's changing now.
yeah.
Um, I think the artificial part comes when you're at the nosebleed level
Mm,
of an A-lister.
yeah.
And you're told what to do. You got to be here. Oh, who are we playing for? I forgot where I am. It's another 10,000 people I'm playing for today. And I walk out and they go, oh. And then there are people like you and me that don't have all that support, so to speak.
Mm,
We just want to say things.
yeah.
Here's what I want to say. And I got to the point as I got older because you always want acceptance. You want people to like your music, right? You want it all the time. You want people, oh my gosh, it's really a great song. And I always tell people that when I bring an album out, which I last one just came out on February 1st. If you,
Congratulations.
thanks. If you like one song, I'm happy. If you like
Yeah.
two, I'm ecstatic. I'm not Lennon and McCartney. So I don't expect you to go, oh my God, they're all great. Even if I think they're good. So I think the funny thing about you though is you haven't picked up, you may do it when you're around your friends, you haven't picked up the British accent.
Yeah.
There was a
You
couple
know
words you
what?
said that you used, but it's like you said going to university. Of course, we always say the university or going to a hospital and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You know what? It'll slip out sometimes. I'll say, "Oh, I need a bit of this and a bit of that," and my mom will go, "What? What?" Or,
well, you need to
yeah,
go to the car park.
yeah,
What's
go
a
to the
car
car
park?
park, get a trolley. I don't know, little things, but no, I almost feel like I miss home so much that I will try and really bring out the American sometimes just to know,
I always
okay,
wondered, they like listening to American accents as much as we like listening to British.
exactly.
As soon as
So,
you start talking, they go, oh, you're from the States. Yeah. And you're
yeah.
like, yeah, that's right. And I'm dang proud of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll imitate me, I'll imitate them. It's a good laugh. So, yeah, I don't think it's also the Liverpool accent is a bit
Oh,
hard to
yes,
pick
it's a
out.
harsh. It
It's a
isn't
bit
like our friend's accent from down in London. No,
no.
it's different.
Yeah, you gotta hand it to them though. It takes a lot of work from your throat, I think, to get it out.
So
Yeah.
you've got several songs out. I was going to ask you about some of them because I was intrigued by two things.
Yeah.
You do write from the heart. I'm going to say this, and you don't have to agree with or disagree with it. Your heart's been broken more than one time.
Yeah.
Um, and you really understand how to write a song. But when I heard one of the songs that had all this production on it, where'd you get all the production? I think it was Somebody Like Me.
Oh, so that one, that has been through a few different studios. So that was one of my first songs I recorded. It came out a few years later than I actually recorded it, but that that doesn't really represent me, I
So
don't
which
think.
one of these does?
I mean, of course, I'm gonna say something that's not out yet, but if I had to do
Well, that's
something
true.
that's out, I think Live Again,
Okay.
is my most honest. Um, yeah, that's just in the past few years, there's been so much hardship within my family.
Mm,
Uh, my my dad and I have a very hard relationship. He was an alcoholic, so a lot of my music is about that.
got it.
And then my stepdad, his passing, just a
Yes,
lot of
yeah.
stuff. Um,
Does
and
your
I
mom still live in California? In the
she
San
does.
Francisco? Okay.
Yeah, she's still in that.
Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I have a younger sister, Camille. She is at University of Boulder doing
Uh,
psychology. So she's gonna be the moneymaker for now. But
if
yeah,
she
I think
started asking you, how do you feel about that? Just say, I'm
like,
not telling you.
no.
How do you feel? No, get away from me.
Oh. So that's her. And then I have a stepsister, Jordan, who's in LA. She's an actress. So we're a pretty creative family.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
You got both sides of it here. Okay, so you got you,
Exactly.
the musician, your stepsister who is an actress, and then you're gonna have your sister who's going to analyze both of you.
Exactly. And she's just gonna judge us for all we're worth. That's it. And then my mom is a hairdresser. So we're all just a little creative. Camille's very creative. I thought she was going to be a DJ when we were younger. She was very cool
It's
and
funny
she would
what
have,
people end up, isn't it?
yeah. So whatever she's going to do, she's going to be the boss of someone. I already know it, but
Well, people are born to be management.
yeah.
I mean, and people are leaders. I mean, they're just, they're. I used to tell people that work for me, there's three types of people in the world: sheep, sheep
Mhm.
herder, and the person that owns the farm. Those are your choices you get to be. We need all
Yeah.
three of them. A lot of
Yeah.
sheep, not as many sheep herders, and very few people that own the farm. So you
Yeah.
have to
That,
decide.
that's good. I like that.
That was mine. I made that up, but that's mine.
Okay. All
But,
right.
but
That's
it's
your,
it's true. But it's true.
yeah.
And you
Yeah.
have to aspire to. It's easy to be a sheep.
Mm,
Be like
yeah.
everybody else. And one of the things I have learned from doing what I do is I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of people. Unfortunately, I never get to meet them unless they come through Dallas and I get to see them when they come. Um, Most of the musicians, I could say every one of them I've talked to, even the big names, have been relative laid back.
Yeah.
They don't need to impress anybody. And I think it's because I understand what they do.
Yeah.
And one of them I said, and they go, you didn't ask me stupid questions. I said, why? Like, oh, you
Yeah.
thought I was going to ask you how do you write a song? No,
Yeah.
I know how to. I do that myself. I don't need that.
Yeah.
Um, do I have aspirations to talk to maybe Paul McCartney? Sure, but I'd have to find. I know what I'd ask him. It would be nothing to do with what people think.
Yeah.
My goal in interviewing people, and this is a personal goal, is asking people a question, especially if you've been doing it for decades, you've never been asked before, and
Yeah.
that's not easy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when they go, well, that's a good question, then I go, okay, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I
You
think
know,
I think that's what's interesting. I mean, if you have the opportunity to ask freely, you should learn something new. So
yeah, I
that's
can
great.
find everything I need to know about you by reading every book and interview with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing. And the other thing, and you already have it, is you have credibility. You'll build up your credibility more and more. And I know one day what I always like to see about people is I see them on TV, and I'll tell my wife, and she goes, didn't you interview those people about 2 years ago? I said, yeah, now look where they are.
Yeah.
Or someone like you, I look at somebody famous or somebody big and I go, look who produced that. Yeah, there it is. Natalie, yeah, right there. Natalie Dean. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
just think there's a line, and you know this, and you know it now. People don't introduce you to other people that you don't think they're going to get along with, or there's the same continuity there.
yeah, absolutely.
And the only way you get there is knowing really a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to miss the kindness of the people in Liverpool, and as they said in the 60s, the Mersey beat, which they don't have anymore. That's been gone for decades. It's been gone a long time. But historically, look at all the famous bands that came out of that area.
Yeah.
Kind of like all the bands that came out of Seattle. I mentioned Muscle Shoals, all the people recorded down there. You go to Nashville, and they all have this vibe to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think at the end of the day, you will get to do what you want, and you'll be doing something. I think what I'm curious about and finding out as you go along is watching what happens to you.
Mhm.
Because something will happen to you, and you go, I'll send you a message, and I go, how'd that happen? And then
Feel
you'll
like
tell me.
crazy story, Rick. Let's talk about it.
And that's what I like about what I do
Yeah.
is I get to meet wonderful people like you that are at the beginning of their careers. Um, yours has already started. I think it's just really cool that you got accepted and you've been over there. I
Thank
mean,
you.
that's got to be that's a big pat on the back right there.
You know what? It's something when I first started, I was completely overwhelmed. And of course, you probably understand this. Every musician, I think, has a bit of imposter syndrome. I think
Oh,
we all think, oh yeah, maybe you have moments where you're your biggest fan and you're cheerleading yourself. And then there are moments where you think, what am I doing? Oh my gosh, does anybody even think this is good? Like, what am I doing? So being in the LIPA environment is a bit intimidating because everyone's great. You're not just great
but you wouldn't
in,
be there if you weren't one of them.
well, thank you. But
But it's
that
true.
I think that was
There's
the
your
hard
imposter syndrome right there. I
part.
spoke back in end of January at the university here. A friend of mine asked me to go speak. Actually, as a friend of our friend over there.
Yeah.
And when I opened it up for questions, these are all great musicians right there. One of them asked me about that. Do you feel like you're not worthy?
Yeah.
And I said to this young lady, you will never feel you're worthy. I don't care how big you are. And I said, I cannot tell you how many big stars I've talked to that still feel like they're not worthy. It's
Yeah.
like they're always chasing something. And even if you have, I bet you if you talk to Billy Joe, would you say, I mean, Billy's a little egomaniac, I understand, but he has a right to be. It's like Elton John. Of course they can.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes think you shouldn't be doing it? And he'd probably say, yeah, I don't think I'm worthy. Look at the
Yeah.
songs you've written. Yeah, no, but it's, and I think that's the one thing, and it's amazing to me because I always tell, I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. I don't think I should be here. And I always say, the reason you're there is because, and I use this is the Trout's famous quote, you don't suck.
Don't suck. I like that one.
Because
That
if you
was
did
good.
suck, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So you don't suck. I'm telling you that.
Thank you so much.
That's
Yeah,
very deep.
I think you know what? This is your new branch of your business. You need to make t-shirts.
You
You
don't
don't
suck.
That could be your whole mantra. I
That's
love it.
actually pretty cool. I never thought about
Yeah.
that.
Or like a bumper, like some type of little merch. That's
Yeah.
your merch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would buy
I'd
it.
buy it. I think I do like that. You don't suck.
Yeah.
And give it to
That's like,
people that don't suck.
yeah, like what's that one in Forrest Gump? They have the
The
bumper
chocolate
sticker.
on the chocolate thing.
No,
It
it's
wipes
like
like a box of chocolates or another one.
it was a different one, but anyway, same sort of thing. It was something simple like that, and yeah, everyone loves it. That's your thing.
Okay, well, send that royalty check to you.
All right, I'll check
What I'll
back in
say
a
at the end,
year.
it's like I used to tell people when I won the lottery, my old boss, I said, when I win actually, I would equate it to a Grammy. A
Yeah.
friend of mine listens to my music. Normally, I send it to him before I put it out. And I say, when you walk up there and hold my walker as I get my Grammy, and I say to the people, like to thank all the little people. He goes, yeah, you're one of them. Thank you.
I love that. You're gonna get your Grammy. I'm gonna predict a year. 1 year from now, I'm gonna say, no.
I interviewed a wonderful guitarist. She's in a band called String Revolution. This is a woman. And when I interviewed her, she was a Grammy nominated person. Her band was. Then they won.
Wow.
And I told her, I said, Janet, I said, it's pretty cool just to say you're nominated for Grammy.
Yeah,
And I sent her
yeah.
a message afterward. It's even better when you won a Grammy. And
I
then she's
mean,
showing pictures of it and holding it up, and I'm going like, oh God.
well, my question, where do you even put that thing? Like, you got your designated shelf in your house. That's the Grammy shelf. Like,
You
oh,
put the lights on it,
yeah,
you have a spotlight on it. You go into a
yeah.
room and you go, here's my room, my special room, and it just da, 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 da.
And that's just one little like shelf with just that empty room.
Everybody goes, what is that? It's my Grammy.
Yeah, obviously.
Well, and
Oh,
they won one, but it was in a. I said, "Well, do you get to walk up and do?" No, it was on a different deal, and it was like, okay, because I said, if I was sitting out in the crowd, I can tell you exactly the moment it would happen to me. Because see, actually asked her this: did you write something down if you won? And she
yeah.
said, "Oh man, I thought about it. Do I do that, pretending I'm actually going to win, or not do it? Because it's like one of those
Yeah.
psychological things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I write it, then I'm going to go, I'm not going to win if I say I want to win.
Yeah.
And I said, that's one of those things you think of.
Yeah.
And if I was sitting in the crowd next to my wife and they nominate, they say my name, and she would go, hey, they called you, and I'd be going like, nah, nah.
No, no, could have been me.
And
Yeah,
then,
I
then
can't
I'd wear my
imagine.
tuxedo. It says, I don't suck.
Yes. Okay, I just remembered it. From the movie.
Yes.
Shit happens.
Oh yeah.
That happens. Shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same sort of vibe. You're on to something. You are lovely, and I really, really appreciate our talk. And yeah, I hope to stay in touch with you.
You got my number. Well, you got my email. Well, my number's on there
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So when do you think real quick, when you finish up and when do you think you'll be back in the States this summer?
I'll be back August 1st. So graduation's not till July 30th.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You have a great evening.
So much.
Safe travels. We'll be back in touch.
Thank you so much, Brick. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting
Have
you
a good
too.
day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.